A scintillating super over finish at Seddon Park that recorded a first ever series win in T20Is for India in New Zealand. The action now moves to the fourth T20I at Wellington. We're looking ahead to 5 things to watch out for from that game with Sanjay Bangar on ESPN Cricinfo Matchday. Sanjay Bangar with me then, and we've both taken a minute or a day actually and got our breath back because we saw that thrilling finish at Hamilton. We start with point number 5 as we look ahead to this game, and that's where did this series go wrong for New Zealand? I mean, now it's all pride to play for, but we're looking at a team that's got such a good record at home, Sanjay, and they had their moments in both the first and the third T20I. But if you look back now, what's ailing this New Zealand team?
I think they have been slightly below par, but haven't done much wrong, because in the first and the third game they have competed really well, but they are up against a strong Indian team which is in red hot form, and the character that this team possesses, because every match is some new guy comes and steps in and puts his hand up and stands and delivers for the team. So it'll be very difficult for any team at the moment to challenge this Indian team.
Yeah, sign of a good team when you have different heroes in every game. Maybe a different change in personnel is what New Zealand need. As we move to point number 4, can they do with some Bruce force? There's Tom Bruce now, who's made his way into this squad, replacing Colin de Grandhomme for the last 2 T20Is, and it's been a disappointing first 3 games for de Grandhomme, North 3 and 5 in the first 3 outings with bat, and he's not had much to do with the ball as well, so perhaps dipping stock from Colin de Grandhomme. And Tom Bruce on the other hand has his share of T20I cricket, but played just the 1 T20I in 2019. He featured more in the years before that, but a strike rate of 120, so clearly they're looking at more batting prowess given the issues that plague the middle order that we have discussed on previous shows. While Colin de Grandhomme's stock is falling, Ravindra Jadeja's is only rising, and that takes us to point number 3. And all of a sudden now Jadeja doesn't look like just a stopgap option until Hardik Pandya returns and restores the balance of this team. We're looking at the best economy, Sanjay Bangar, for India's bowlers, and Ravindra Jadeja right up there, 6.25. He's played a fair share of cricket at these smallish grounds in New Zealand. He's coming back with extremely impressive figures. Now all of a sudden Jadeja has to be looked at as a first choice, first team player regardless of Pandya or whoever else is available. Is that a fair comment?
Yeah, that's a fair comment, and I would definitely start with Ravindra Jadeja in all the formats that this team plays, because purely for the reason that in the shorter format what happens is that the comfort and the confidence that Jadeja gives to bowl his complete quota of overs, whether it be 4 overs in the T20 match or 10 overs in a one-day match, I think he gives that sort of a comfort, and because of that he becomes a brilliant option ahead of everybody in the race.
Is he doing anything differently with the ball? Why has he improved as a bowler for you?
Number one is that whenever the surfaces have favoured him, wherein the ball has stopped and come, the pace at which he bowls has actually helped him quite a bit to extract the amount of turn that he is getting. And on flattish tracks, what I've noticed is that obviously he has worked quite well on varying his pace. So probably these 2 factors have worked in his favour in terms of increasing his utility as a bowler.
Alright, well, there's no looking beyond Ravindra Jadeja. You think he's going to get a nice long run now in the white ball team. But as we move to our next point, as we do our countdown ahead of this game, and at number 2, the action has now moved to the Westpac Stadium in Wellington, and the last 5 T20Is here have seen an average first innings score of 178. Teams batting first have won 4 out of 5, including the last 3 in a row. So maybe that's an indication of what to do at the toss. And the Pacers averaged 21.83. They wouldn't mind that. Economy around 8, that you take that in New Zealand. The same for spinners, who average around 21. So that's not bad numbers for the Westpac Stadium. But what about the dimensions at this ground? That's always a unique conversation when it comes to grounds in New Zealand. We're looking at the straight boundaries in excess of 75 meters, which is quite nice to see, Sanjay. And the side boundaries around 57, 61 meters is what we've got. So now you have to keep changing Auckland to Hamilton to Wellington. As far as cricket grounds go, is this the more orthodox of the lot?
More orthodox ground, and also it's sort of a closed stadium wherein wind doesn't really play that much of a role, wherein the ball doesn't really swerve around that much. But it's a rugby field, and what happens is generally whenever the batsmen play an aerial shot, actually the ball sits down on the outfield and doesn't really accelerate once it bounces. So that is a factor that the batsman will have to keep in mind. And as far as the bowlers goes, the New Zealand batsmen will target the square boundaries, especially either side of the track. So they have this tendency to walk across to length balls and pick them over square leg, or make room and go over point or cover region. So I think you'll see a lot of Yorkers being bowled at this particular venue.
Yeah, they call it the cake tin for a reason. Sanjay Bangar points out closed sort of ground like a cauldron almost. So expect perhaps some runs, which is why the batsmen may not want to miss out. But would India look to rest some of their key bowlers? That's our final point. As we ask Sanjay Bangar what changes he would make. You think the series is won. Virat Kohli also indicating that maybe a few squad members will get a go now. I don't know which batsman would be willing to say I'll sit out with all these grounds in New Zealand, Sanjay. But if you had to make the calls, what sort of team changes would you like to make to give some of the other squad members a go?
Probably India might not go in with the sixth bowling option. So what I feel is that maybe Rishabh Pant might get a game in place of Shivam Dube.
Okay.
Saini would come in probably for Bumrah, and Kuldeep will be tested probably in place of Chahal to test his again temperament when it comes to bowling on square short boundaries.
Right, many thanks Sanjay Bangar. We'll be back with Sanjay's thoughts ahead of the 5th T20I. Of course, the 4th one at the Westpac Stadium in Wellington takes place on Friday.